This incident happened when I was 19. After graduating from high school, I worked at a highway rest stop, and I usually took up the late-night shifts. That night, I had been on shift since 10 p.m., and it was raining violently. By midnight, the storm was merciless. The rain pounded on the roof of the small shop, and the strong wind rattled against the glass doors. My manager had gone abroad, so I was honestly the only one in the middle of a deserted highway. My house was more than 2 hours away, and there also weren't any cars or anything on the road. It was getting quite difficult to stay awake given the silence around me, but at around 1 in the morning, I saw headlights through the storm. It was a sedan pulling into the parking lot. The driver didn't get out though. The car just sat there with the engine running. I don't know who he was, but he was seriously creeping me out, especially since the windshield wipers weren't even turned on, and I couldn't really see who was in there. I stood against the counter staring at the car for about 10 minutes, wondering what to do. Finally, the door opened and a man stepped out. He didn't have an umbrella or even a raincoat. He just let the rain soak him. And he didn't even come inside. He just stood there, staring at the building. I tried to keep busy with stocking the shelves, but every time I looked outside, he seemed to be nearer. First at the pumps, then near the vending machines, then right outside the window. At this point, I felt my heart racing. The rain outside was becoming louder, and seeing him just stand there and looking at me gave me goosebumps. I was almost about to scream. This guy was staring at me dead in the face, motionless. But then I picked up the shop's phone and tried to call the police. There wasn't even a dial tone. I figured the storm had killed the reception or something. My phone didn't have signal either, and the last thing I wanted was for me to be stuck inside a shop with a creepy man outside. When I looked out the window, the man was gone. I felt some sense of relief, until I noticed the sedan still sitting there, with the headlights off. He hadn't left. He was somewhere out there, in the dark. I hurried and locked all the doors. I had decided to hide in the supply room, but I didn't have a chance to do that, because then I heard footsteps right above me. Someone was on the roof. I froze in shock, listening to the steady rhythm of boots against the metal roof back and forth. I took out a flashlight, struggling to keep it on. And then suddenly the noise was gone. By that point, I was sure that someone would just break in, but they never did. I sat behind the counter holding the flashlight. The remaining hours of my shift were just spent in silence. I didn't hear anything after that. By around 5 a.m., the rain eased a bit. I stepped outside trembling. The sedan was gone. There was no sign of him, no footprints, nothing to identify him with. I reported everything to the police later that morning. They searched the entire area and checked the cameras, even tracing the phone lines. They found nothing. No record of a sedan stopping at the rest stop. No footprints and no evidence anyone had been there at all. Till this day, I don't know who that man was, or what he wanted. The police shrugged it off as stress, or maybe a prank, but I know what I heard, and I know what I saw. I often rethink this entire episode. I might have had a really narrow miss from a horrifying event,